I spent the last decade testing dozens of longevity protocols, and I found 14 that actually move the needle more than the rest. Here's my 14 top tips for reversing your biological age. By the way, I'm Hitch. I'm 75 and I've reduced my biological age by over 13 years. Longevity science isn't just a hobby, it's my passion, and it's what I do all day, every day. What if you could actually reverse your biological age and back it up with data? That's been my mission for the past decade. I'm 75 now, and according to the test, I'm biologically younger than I was 10 years ago. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the top 14 things that I've done to make that happen. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share a little known hack that gives you access to one of the most powerful and most expensive interventions in longevity science. And yeah, they actually pay you to do it. Let's get started. Let's break this down into two parts: the foundations and the interventions. The foundations are things that we've known about for decades. They're not sexy, but they work. Nutrition, sleep, movement, the core behaviors that keep your body running well and lay the groundwork for everything else. If you ignore these, no supplement or peptide is going to save your ass. This is where I start, and it's why I still make them a priority. By the way, the order of these tips does not reflect their importance. The order is based simply on the way that I think of them. Foundations are first, and for me, those are nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Okay, so first, we've got nutrition. I keep it simple and clean. Whole foods, nothing processed, no refined sugars or toxic seed oils. I buy organic when I can, and I've seriously upped my veggie game over the last few years. But I'm still an omnivore. I eat meat, fish, and poultry, and that's where I get most of my protein. But it's grass-fed, wild-caught, or free-range. I get most of my carbs from cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, low glycemic fruits, root veggies, and legumes. I eat healthy fats like olive and avocado oils and nuts, foods that fuel recovery, support the gut microbiome, and keep inflammation low. Nutrient-dense whole foods supply the raw materials your body needs for cellular repair, hormone production, and immune function. Vegetables bring in polyphenols and fiber that feed your gut bacteria and reduce systemic inflammation. Cutting out sugar and refined carbs improves insulin sensitivity, which is critical for metabolic health and longevity. And healthy fats support cardiovascular health and keep inflammation in check. Now, I'm not that disciplined, and my diet's not that perfect. I have cheat days, but most days I'm really intentional about what I put in my body. Now, the next two tips are both cardio, because I do two types of cardio. First is HIIT, or high intensity interval training. These days, it's usually a type of HIIT called re-HIIT, or reduced exertion high intensity interval training. These aren't marathon cardio sessions. They're short, high intensity bursts of all out effort, 20 to 30 seconds, where I bring everything I've got. And I only do this 3 or 4 times. I imagine that a lion is chasing me. And although he can run a lot faster than I can, I've got a head start. And I just need to get to a shelter that's about 20 seconds away. So I'm giving it everything I've got so that I get there before the lion does. Now, these sessions are brutal, but they're short. I can do anything for 30 seconds. That kind of maximal effort spikes VO2 max, a key marker for cardiovascular fitness and one of the strongest predictors of health span. It also stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis and improves metabolic efficiency. And it taps into one of the most important principles in aging science, hormesis. That's the idea that short, intense stress, like HIIT, forces your body to adapt, repair, and come back stronger. This isn't about volume, it's about signaling. When your cells see that kind of stress, they upgrade across the board. Next is steady state. I do steady state cardio a couple times a week. Now, I shoot for a minimum of 20 minutes of low intensity zone 2 cardio, but I try to make it between a half hour and an hour. Steady state has benefits that HIIT just doesn't. It builds up my stamina and endurance. It lowers my resting heart rate, supports mitochondrial health, and drives capillary biogenesis. It builds out my vascular network for better oxygen delivery. All right, let's talk about weight training next. When I lift heavy. And not because I'm chasing big numbers, but because once again, Intensity drives adaptation. I follow a simple split: push day, pull day, leg day. Each major muscle group gets trained once a week with plenty of time to recover. The goal isn't volume here, it's stimulus. Heavy lifting provides mechanical tension, which is the most powerful signal for building and maintaining muscle. And that matters because as you age, you naturally lose fast twitch muscle fibers, the ones responsible for power, speed, and quick reaction. They're the last fibers recruited when you're lifting heavy and doing short sets. When you're doing long sets of 20 to 30 reps at a low weight, they don't get recruited at all. Strength training helps preserve those fibers and slows the decline. It also supports hormone balance, bone density, metabolic health, and overall resilience. This isn't about aesthetics or bodybuilding. It's about staying strong, functional, and independent for as long as possible. If you want to fight aging, pick up something heavy, challenge yourself. Coming in at number 5 is mobility drills. Now, I used to do the slow, gentle kind, the usual stretching routines. Now, my mobility work is active, it's dynamic, functional, and it gets my heart rate up. These drills require real movement and real cardiovascular fitness. I'm not just holding poses, I'm flowing through ranges of motion under control, often under load. Why? Because mobility isn't just about flexibility. It's about joint control, neuromuscular coordination, and being strong at the edges of your range of motion where most injuries occur. Research backs this up. Dynamic, full body movement patterns improve proprioception, balance, and injury resilience far more than passive stretching alone. They also challenge the central nervous system and reinforce movement quality in ways that static holds just don't. And yeah, they keep me agile, which matters because the ability to move well is one of the most reliable indicators of health span. And frailty, driven by poor mobility, is one of the biggest predictors of all-cause mortality. The last tip in the interventions category, coming in at number 6, is sleep and recovery. Now, I'm so lucky. I've never had any problems with sleep. I always have slept great, and going to bed is a joy. I dream a lot and I have really vivid dreams. So going to bed is like starting out on a grand adventure. I never know what's going to happen in slumberland. Even so, I still track my sleep. I use a Whoop to monitor my sleep quality, resting heart rate variability, and overall recovery. That data gives me real-time insight into how well I'm bouncing back. If my heart rate variability drops or my resting heart rate spikes, I know I've pushed too hard or I'm dealing with some kind of underlying stress, and I'll adjust my training and recovery accordingly. Good sleep isn't just rest. It's when your brain clears out waste, your muscles rebuild, and your hormones reset. Deep sleep fuels physical recovery, and REM handles mental performance. Both are critical if you want to stay sharp and strong as you age. Now, let's talk supplements. My supplement stack isn't random, and it sure as hell isn't static. I take a lot, but every one of them has a purpose. I dose 3 times a day, and I cycle many of them, some daily, some weekly, some just a few days a month. I don't just pop pills. I group them by function: mitochondrial support, inflammation control, cognitive health, hormone balance, gut integrity. The key here is adaptability. I don't run the same stack year round. I adjust based on blood work and biomarker data. And I also rotate compounds intentionally, even if they're working, to avoid adaptation or oversaturation. Some things stay constants, others come and go based on timing, goals, or interaction effects. This is about strategic layering, using targeted compounds to support specific biological systems. Now, I'm not going to list my full stack here. That's for another video. The short version, it's all targeted, strategic, and backed by data. By the way, if you love this type of content and you're really interested in connecting with other longevity biohackers, I've created a community of people just like you on school.com. It's called the Longevity Alliance. It's totally free and you should join. There's 2 free courses that you could take: the Foundations of Longevity and Longevity Interventions. There's paid content. There's a weekly live Q&A, and it's all free, so there's no reason not to join. Just click the link in the description or right up here. Now, let's move into the interventions. This is where things get interesting. Once you've got the foundations dialed in, the interventions are protocols that are based on recent discoveries in longevity science. And while the foundations will allow you to achieve your full longevity potential, the interventions just might enable you to exceed them. Implementing the interventions has helped me move the needle on my biological age in ways that I couldn't have done otherwise. Kicking off the interventions is hormone optimization. Now, I started tracking my testosterone first. Originally, it came in around 350 nanograms per deciliter, which is about average for a guy my age. But I wasn't interested in average. I wanted optimal. So I started trying to raise my T levels naturally. I cleaned up my diet, avoiding estrogenic foods. I trained hard and improved my sleep. I also lost weight, and this is critical. Adipose tissue produces aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. And the more fat you're carrying, the more aromatase you're producing. This strategy brought my testosterone up to over 950 nanograms per deciliter without meds. But testosterone is just one piece of the puzzle. Aging also affects estrogen, DHEA, IGF-1, growth hormone, and thyroid function. That's why I eventually started working with a physician to dial in a bioidentical hormone replacement therapy protocol that supports broader hormonal balance. This isn't bro science. I run blood panels, monitor trends, and adjust with expert guidance. When hormones are in sync, they drive energy, recovery, libido, and mental clarity, and slow down a lot of the biological decay that we associate with aging. Next up is clearing senescent cells. These are the cells that have stopped dividing but refuse to die. Instead, they hang around and secrete inflammatory compounds, what's called SASPs, or senescence-associated secretory phenotypes. That creates a toxic environment that damages nearby tissues, accelerates aging, and disrupts normal function. Now, I take a two-pronged approach. First, I use high-intensity exercise as a physical intervention. The stress of intense training flags damaged cells for removal and ramps up immune surveillance to clear them out. It makes it easier for my body to recognize and clear senescent cells all on its own. Next, I use senolytics, a class of molecules developed to remove senescent cells. I use dasatinib plus quercetin, and I use fisetin. These compounds help to selectively target and kill off senescent cells, reducing the inflammatory load that they create. The goal here isn't to eliminate every senescent cell. It's to reduce the burden and let the healthy ones thrive. Coming in at number 10 is boosting NAD+. Now, this is a molecule that's used in over 500 enzymatic reactions in metabolic pathways like cellular respiration, the production of cellular energy, and in DNA repair. And levels of NAD+ go into decline with age. Boosting declining NAD+ levels is a layered approach. First, I clear out senescent cells. One of the SASPs that I just mentioned is CD38, a molecule that converts NAD+ into another molecule called cyclic ADP ribose. And it takes over 100 NAD+ molecules to create just one molecule of cyclic ADP ribose. I also take a supplement called apigenin to block CD38 directly. Now, about 90% of the NAD+ that's produced in your body is simply recycled by what's called the salvage pathway. But this pathway has a rate-limiting enzyme called NAMPT. When there's not enough NAMPT, the salvage pathway slows way down. The good news, the best way to boost NAMPT levels is with high-intensity training. Finally, after I do all those other things, if my NAD+ levels are still low, I take an NAD+ precursor like NMN or NR. But remember, taking exogenous precursors to create brand new NAD+ molecules only accounts for about 10% of the NAD+ in our bodies. So doing the other protocols is critical if you want to boost NAD+. Okay, let's talk about balancing nutritional pathways, which, by the way, is a hallmark of aging. Now, there's four of them, but I'm only going to talk about two types here, AMPK and mTOR. AMPK is anabolic. It senses nutritional abundance and tells your body to grow. AMPK is catabolic. It senses scarcity and triggers repair by breaking down cellular waste and recycling it through a cellular process called autophagy. When AMPK fires up, it shuts down mTOR. Now, with modern levels of food availability, we're almost always in a state of nutritional abundance. But we need to have both nutritional pathways activated to maintain optimal health. So I deliberately cycle between them. I activate AMPK through fasting and other stressors. That's when autophagy kicks in, clearing out some damaged cells and recycling cellular waste. Then I flip the switch and activate mTOR through feeding and training. And that's when the body rebuilds, strengthens, and grows. The point isn't to pick a side, it's to create a rhythm, growth and repair, anabolism and catabolism. Suppress one too long and you break down. Overstimulate the other one and you accelerate aging. It's the cycling, the timing that keeps the system working like it should. All right, let's talk about peptides. They've been getting a lot of well-deserved attention lately. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, and they signal a variety of different processes in the body. We naturally create hundreds of peptides. Now, they work as a signaling molecule. They go in, attach to a receptor on the cell membrane, deliver their signal, and then get broken down by enzymes in the blood. And they have a very short half-life, sometimes only lasting for a few minutes or even seconds. And they perform a wide variety of different functions. They support repair and recovery, the immune system, metabolic health and weight loss, energy and physical performance, brain function, sexual health, and of course, longevity. Some peptides I take once a week, some I take 3 times a week, and some 5 times a week. I cycle them, limiting most to a cycle that's about 3 months long. That's because it's easy for the body to become desensitized to peptides. Also, it's smart to only take about 4 to 6 peptides at a time, and there's dozens available. So I also cycle through the categories of peptides, stacking peptides that have a similar function together. Now, honestly, if you're going to tackle peptides, there's a lot to learn about what the different peptides are, what they do, how to dose them, how to reconstitute them, how to store them, how to administer them, when to take them, and how often. That's why I'm launching an 8-week group coaching program to help people get this right. Peptides are incredible tools if you know what you're doing. I'll be teaching how to build safe, effective, personalized protocols that actually make sense. Now, this group coaching program is taking place within the Longevity Alliance, the free community that I built inside school.com. Click on the link in the description, join the free community, then go to the classroom tab and click on the Primer on Peptides thumbnail. You can sign up for the group coaching program there. I also created a longevity peptide toolkit. First, there's a PDF that lists all the peptides that I use by function and provides info on the amount that comes in the vial, the amount of bacteriostatic water that's required to reconstitute it, the dose, and the amount to draw into the syringe to get that dose, the timing, the frequency, and the duration of the peptide cycle. Next, I created a peptide calculator. Just enter the amount of powder in the vial, the amount of bacteriostatic water that you inserted into the vial, the dose that you want, and it will calculate the amount to draw into the syringe. Between these two tools, you'll have everything you need to navigate dosing specific peptides. If you'd like free access to the Longevity Peptide Toolkit right now, just click on the link in the description, enter your email address, and you'll get instant access. Okay, moving on. Red light therapy is one of those tools that actually lives up to the hype. It's non-invasive, relatively affordable, and backed by solid science. Now, I use a red light panel regularly as part of a broader system that supports recovery and performance. Now, mechanistically, red and near-infrared light penetrate the skin and stimulate mitochondria, specifically by activating cytochrome C oxidase. That boosts ATP production, the energy currency of the cell, and helps reduce oxidative stress. The downstream effects: better cellular energy, reduced inflammation, enhanced healing, and improved skin and connective tissue health. Now, I've used it consistently for general recovery, but I really saw a difference when I paired it with peptides like ARA 290 and BPC 157 to target peripheral neuropathy. That combination noticeably improved my symptoms, something I've been trying to do with no success for about a decade. If you use red light consistently and strategically, it's a real asset in the longevity toolbox. Now, we're down to the last tip, and it isn't HBOT. Why not? Hyperbaric oxygen therapy gets a lot of attention in the longevity space. And yeah, the science is compelling. Studies have shown that it can boost stem cell activity, improve cognitive function, and even lengthen telomeres. But here's the deal. I've only done a few sessions. I haven't done the full 60-session protocol that most of the big research is based on. Owning a chamber or paying for regular sessions is expensive, and the time commitment is no joke. An hour to 90 minutes a day, every day for 3 months. If I had one of the upright units where I could sit up and get work done, I'd be all over it. But for now, it's just not something that I can integrate consistently. So yeah, HBOT has promise, but it's not part of my current routine. Last on the list, plasmapheresis, or therapeutic plasma exchange, also known as TPE. This is a clinical procedure that removes your old plasma and replaces it with a clean albumin solution. It's been shown to reduce systemic inflammation, clear out harmful proteins, and reset aging blood chemistry. In some studies, it's even improved biological age markers and proteomic signatures tied to longevity. Now, I've done TPE twice, and honestly, I was very impressed. The effects showed up in both my biomarkers and in my athletic performance. Now, I told you earlier that if you stuck around to the end, I'd show you a hack where you can actually get paid to do one of the more expensive protocols. And this is it. By the way, I got this from Dave Pascoe. It's plasma donation. Now, it's not exactly the same. It doesn't include replacing the plasma with the albumin solution, but that's just fine because that doesn't really add any benefits. The core benefit of TPE comes from removing the aging factors in plasma. And some studies suggest that plasma donation may be almost as effective at creating those beneficial shifts. Now, you got to donate 2 or 3 times a week for 4 or 5 weeks. This will cycle through your entire plasma volume twice in a 5-week period, and they pay you to do it. So that's it. 14 strategies that I've personally used to reverse my biological age. Some are foundational, some are cutting edge, but they all work together. This isn't about chasing trends or throwing money at the latest shiny object. It's about layering the basics with the best of what science has to offer and doing it with intention. If you want results, you've got to build a system. And this has been mine. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you want to learn more about the Longevity Alliance or my group coaching program, Primer on Peptides, click this link right over here. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Catch you next week.